It's been a long time since I've been this excited for an anime tie-in game. What is up everyone, it is me DevilNeverCry, and of course today we are talking about BLEACH Rebirth of Souls, an upcoming fighting game that will cover the first two story arcs of Bleach. I think those of us who are fans of the show or fans of Bleach media in general should have seen this coming. Well, not the fighting game aspect of it, but more so the fact that a Bleach game was in the works. The resurrection or revival of Bleach since the adaptation of the 1000-Year Blood War has been absolutely insane. Being the most dormant of the big three, when the show was ultimately cancelled, nobody would have said 10 years later that there'd be a huge revival and we'd be getting all kinds of different media, with things like Blu-rays and video games alike. In fact, the last time we got a Bleach tie-in game was roughly 13 years ago with Bleach Soul Resurrection, or Soul Ignition, depending on what region you're residing in. And that game was ultimately just okay. It was a Dynasty Warriors clone where you could mash your way to your heart's content and was somewhat enjoyable if you were just a diehard fan of the show, but if you wanted anything with actual depth to it, you probably would have shelved it within an hour or two. And thus enters BLEACH Rebirth of Souls, a game that is beyond just a standard arena fighter with no mechanical depth, that seems to take a lot of the world building from Bleach itself and incorporates it directly into some of the game's mechanics. The game's producer, Katsuaki Tsuzuki, sat down with IGN to discuss just how important it was to incorporate a lot of these things from the world of Bleach into the game directly to help the game stand out amidst a sea of anime tie-ins. Concepts like spiritual pressure or reishi or things like konpaku should seem familiar to you if you know Bleach, and it's great to see the attention to detail when including these things into the game. Even small details you'd only typically pick up as a fan of Bleach, like Ichigo swinging Zangetsu by the cloth just like Shido in that one scene, act as standout moments and inspire confidence that they might actually nail this game and its concept. Looking at the game and its slick UI, you might be confused somewhat as to how things work, so here's a very brief rundown. Your goal is to eliminate all of the enemy's stock of konpaku. To do so, you need to decrease their reishi bar. Every time that bar is reduced to 0, you remove one stock of konpaku. You're able to destroy their reishi through standard attacks or through the use of special moves which take spiritual pressure. Based on some of the trailers we've seen, it looks like you can build spiritual pressure by simply attacking. Keeping with the whole reverse your fate theme they seem to be going for, you can also pull off reverse actions in combat. This puts you into a special state which alters some of your moves and also increases the amount of damage that your attacks do, allowing you to, as the name implies, turn the tide of battle. Beyond that, we also have the big elephant in the room, which are awakenings. You have an evolution bar which fills up as you take damage, and once it's topped up to the brim, you're then able to enter an awakened state, and in some instances, for example with Ichigo, this seems to activate his Bankai. I think one of the most interesting comments we've got from the producer Tsuzuki-san is the fact that you're potentially able to break an opponent's konpaku with just one strike. This idea that each character has some sort of an ace up their sleeve that can quickly turn the tide of battle makes things a whole lot more volatile when you're unsure in your own victory. Balance and power scaling also seems to be a bit of a priority in the gameplay, though ultimately it's said to have a flat power scaling so everybody has a bit of an equal win rate. I can imagine that the meta will quickly arise shortly after players start to get their hands on all of the characters. Though it is cool to hear that the game is being designed with every character being viable in mind. So far, we've only seen Ichigo, Rukia, Renji, Byakuya and Uryu in combat, but all of those characters appear to play rather differently, particularly Uryu, who seems to be exclusively a long-range fighter. I have absolutely no idea how big the roster is ultimately going to be, but I feel it's going to be the aspect that makes or breaks this game. Having a plethora of fighters with their own strengths and weaknesses that play differently to each other is what's going to keep the community coming back to this game over and over. And despite only covering the first few arcs, there is a plethora of good characters that they can choose from. I imagine that if this game is a success, they're going to be bringing in characters from the Fullbring arc alongside the 1000-Year Blood War arc as DLC. Without even checking, I know for a fact that people will go absolutely nuts if we're able to play as Aizen just strapped up in his chair. Touching on one of the last details from Tsuzuki-san that caught my eye was this idea that characters would vary in just how hard or how easy they are to play as. with some of the cast being easier to appeal to some of the more casual gamers, and others being designed with core action gamers in mind. What that tangibly means we'll only know once we have our hands on the game ourselves, but it's cool to see that mechanical depth is at the forefront of the developer's mind when creating BLEACH Rebirth of Souls. We're still in the dark when it comes to the game's release date. I'm hoping and likely assuming it'll drop sometime this year, with it potentially lining up with the return of BLEACH this year with the 1000 Year Blood War Part 3. Those who know me in the channel know that I've always been a big BLEACH fan, so it's no surprise that I'm very much looking forward to Rebirth of Souls. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, and let me know what you're most looking forward to in the game. If you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to leave a like, and if you're interested in seeing more content surrounding this game, then definitely subscribe, as there'll be more on the way. With all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. As always, I'll see you all next video.